Hi, welcome. I just wanted to pop in and chat with you about something it's been on my mind about sharing for quite a while, because I think it's really important to be transparent. As I said in yesterday's post about a little bit about me, if you saw it, that one of my values is transparency, because it's a bit different, I think, to honesty. Of course, we should all be honest. And with honesty, to me, it's like, well, it's a choice to divulge something or not, right? Do I be honest about that? Do I not? Versus transparency, which is there's nothing to hide, right? There's nothing to not disclose. So I try to, maybe that's just a personal, view of it. So take what resonates and leave what doesn't. That's not the important bit. But it's been on my mind to kind of talk to you about some mistakes that I've made in my business over the time that I've been doing this, because it's really important to me that anybody who's going to work with me, that's going to trust me with their investment, with their time, with their mental health, with their future mastery of energetics and stuff like that, it's important that you guys know who I am, what I stand for, and what my values are in this world, and why. Right now, if you don't care, that's cool. Don't worry about it if you're not that bothered, let's say. But if you are, I'm not going to quatch on for ages, but I just thought it was interesting to share. There's kind of three main mistakes, really, three big mistakes that I have made in my business. And I don't think I've ever divulged these before. So yeah, I'll be intrigued to hear if anybody else has made mistakes like this in their business, if they have one, or in their lives, and actually, have you divulged it? Not that you have to, it's not anything like that. It's not a test. It's just something that I want to get off my chest, right? So rather than going on and on, I'll tell you. I've got some little notes here that I wrote just to keep me on track. So the first one, I think, is it's sharing my plans a bit too enthusiastically with the wrong people, right? So when I first got into EFT, I was, as I still am, all guns blazing. I was very into it, I can take on the world, I can change this, I can do that, blah, blah, blah. And the way that I was originally trained, there was no sort of afterwards, there was no, let's say, framework put around how I should train, what I could train. I mean, there was a syllabus and a manual and all of that. But in terms of, accreditation and that sort of thing, there wasn't a great deal. It was just, okay, you're a trainer now, you can get insured, you can train other people and you can certify them, and that's fine. And that's lovely. But sometimes what it did for me was it kind of, I went a bit gung-ho, because I didn't do due diligence at that time. It was very early on, years and years ago, probably 8-9 years ago. I didn't do the due diligence, try saying that with a mouthful of grapes, around what was required, because EFT is an unregulated industry, if you like, a modality. And as such, there are no governing bodies. Some of them may look like governing bodies, but they're not. They're accrediting, training and accreditation bodies, and that's very, very different. There is no governing body for emotional freedom techniques still to this day, right? It's not on the NICE guidelines. It doesn't have an NOS thing attached to it. So people are trying, don't get me wrong, but there can be various different ways that you can study in it, train in it, get a certificate in it, right? And even to the level of getting an EFT course on Udemy for 15 quid or whatever, and then getting insurance, because some insurers will insure you for that. Now, I know 10 years down the line what it takes, right, to train somebody, to train them well, to train them in a way that they embody it, that they get it. It's not just a process. And therefore, because they get it and they've embodied it, they understand it, they use it themselves, they know what to look for, they've mastered their craft, they know how to use it really masterfully with people. And that's where accreditation and CPD and checking and all of that good stuff comes in, and all of the extra energy work stuff that I teach, right, in the Evolved Energetics Academy. But initially, didn't have that kind of guidance. It was just, right, you're a trainer now, you're insured to train people, off you go. And that's lovely and it's fine. And I went gobbing off to everybody who would listen. I'm going to change the world. I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing. And I fell on my face a little bit, I'm not going to lie. So And the important thing to say about that is that my enthusiasm in saying, oh, I'm going to do this and that and the other, it got other people excited. And when I couldn't follow through because the actual task was way too big for where I was right then, it disappointed them and they got upset with me, right? So it is what it is. I've apologized, I've made amends, and I have put it right, well and truly put it right in terms of the course, the accreditation, the level that I offer now. It's totally different. I've gone to the ends of the earth to make sure that, you know, every kind of like buyers beware checklist, I do everything right on there. You know, I won't go into too much detail about that, but I am going to do another post. But I just think it's really important for you to know when you've got big plans for something and you want to leave a legacy, you want to change the way things are done. And I do tend to attract and work with those kinds of people, right? The trailblazers, the ones who want to change the school, the way schooling is done, or homeschooling, or I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example, but there are tons, right, that I work with. The way the coaching industry works, the way this, that, and the other thing works. Keep it to your chest a little bit until you've done your due diligence. Why is that so hard to say? Just keep it to your chest a little bit. Make sure that you've ticked all the boxes and then some, and then go and share it, because it can backfire. It can get people excited. And then when you realize that maybe setting up an accreditation body is a huge piece of work, and you can't do it at that stage, it can let people down. And then you just set yourself up for a not very nice experience for them or for you. So that's the first one. The second one is not thinking outside of the box, right? So because of what happened, I went down the formal route, accrediting body, all the rest of it, who I'm still with today, EFT and Mindfulness Centre. But before that, there was a gap while I was doing the due diligence. And it was a case of, I could have thought outside the box and I could have carried, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I could have gone in my own direction and spent the time creating an accreditation body or doing something completely different. So there's a lot of trailblazers out there. I'll give you an example. Gala Darling, right? She has the Gala Darling method. I don't know if it's accredited. I don't know. It's got an independent accreditation body, not an EFT one, I believe, but I might be wrong about that. But the point is, she believes in herself. She is an EFT practitioner. She does it slightly differently, but she's created her own method and she has taken it out into the world with gusto, right? She's thought outside the box and she's gone out there and done it. And, part of me questions where things would be today. I don't regret where I am at all. But sometimes I think you can think outside the box. When things feel overwhelming, sometimes we can stay a little bit too much in our comfort zone, right? So that's the other thing. Never be afraid to think outside the box and think, right, as long as I'm being safe and I'm meeting the general requirements, how else could I do this? Now, I did very, very quickly start to think outside the box. And even though I am accredited, or my courses that I teach are accredited with the EFT and Mindfulness Centre still, I teach them differently. I don't teach them over 3 days or 3 weeks. Not that everybody does, but that's the kind of general in a lot of training organizations, not just EFTMC. But the reason that I now train them personally over a longer period of time is because I've tried all the different ways of teaching it, the different time spans, the different chunks of time, having separate breakout rooms, having extra practice pods, and I've landed on a way that really, really works. And for the last 2 or 3 intakes now, I've got 100% pass rate. Now that is, I won't say it's unheard of, but it's pretty bloody good going. And I'm really proud of that. And it's taken a long time for me to fine tune and tweak it so that I know the way that I teach you, you will pass. And not only will you pass, the average pass rate is 93%. Now, you don't need to get hung up on grades. The pass rate is between 75 and 80%, right? And that is very, very easy to do as it stands today. But I've got belt and braces in place. We leave nobody behind, right? You will pass. I will make sure that you pass if you come and work with me, train with me. Okay, so that's the second thing. And the third thing is not trusting my intuition. Okay, now there's varying different, I'm not going to say anything about anyone or anything in particular with this, because you have to be careful, and I don't want to be in any way disloyal. However, there have been incidents and there have been conversations where I wish I had trusted my intuition. Really, really do. Now, what I would say is, when you start out in something new, it's my experience anyway, that you can be overwhelmed, right? You can be a little bit fearful about, it's new, I'm taking this out into the world. Ooh, am I good enough? Am I going to hurt somebody? Whatever. And any kind of stress, if you know me by now and you know anything I talk about, we talk about, how stress knocks the prefrontal cortex offline, basically. So your thinky brain is not engaged, if you're in a stress response. Even if that's 2 or 3 out of 10 in intensity, you're still less able to think clearly, make clear decisions, access your creativity and your intuition when you're in stress. Now, if you think that most people, certainly most people I've ever come across and worked with or trained, have told me, when I've asked them, because I do this at the start of every training now, if you had to grade yourself, right, in terms of your average stress set point on a daily basis, 10 being completely stressed out of your tree, 0 being totally chilled and relaxed, where would you put yourself? Most people have said 6 to 8 out of 10. Now that blows my mind. We're all walking around 60 to 80% stressed all the time, which means we've only got 20 to 40% access to our creativity, our intuition, and all the rest of it. Right. So my point being is, when you start something new, maybe you're just training, maybe you're accredited, maybe you're getting certified, you're doing a case study, something like that, there will be a sense of anxiety or worry or trepidation, even little gradients of anxiety, right? There'll be concern over taking it out to the world. How do I market it? What do I charge for it? How do I stand out? Are people going to think it's a scam because it's different? All of these different things can really add up. Okay. And if you are constantly in a state of stress, overwhelm, anxiety, not only will you not learn and retain the information about the modality and how to use it as well, but you'll struggle to access your intuition in terms of when you are using it. Now, imagine this. I'll set you a scene. If you're in a session with a client, right, and you are regulated yourself because you've used your tools before you come to the session, and you create what I call a healing cocoon with that client, so they feel safe with you, right? You've got great rapport. There's no agenda from you coming to the table as to what you want to deal with. It's not up to us. It's about our clients, right? We hold the space and we take their lead. There's no pressure. You use their words. You only go as far and as fast as they are ready to go. And they heave a huge sigh of relief when you install safety and grounding protocols at the start of the session. You get them nice and relaxed in their bodies. You get their bodies relaxing, their minds relaxing. And then you start to just let things unfold and clear, unfold and clear. It's a beautiful thing to behold. When I'm training people all the time, I'll stop and I'll present when they finished a practice session, I'll stop and I'll presence that and I'll say, can you feel how good that feels for you as a practitioner and you as a client, right? To both parties, and even the observer, if it's a set of 3 people, how amazing it is. That healing cocoon, it's still, it's quiet, it's safe, and it goes deep. Because they're using their intuition. Because when you're regulated as a practitioner, you don't bring your agenda to the table, right? You simply are in the space, holding space for your client, allowing space for your client to unravel and unfold and everything to come out and up as and when it's ready. And your intuition can come in because your prefrontal cortex is connected, your brain waves are nice and calm. You can hear, sense, see, feel, experience, however you experience your intuition. Mine is usually hearing because I'm clairaudient. It will be so much easier and clearer for you to do that. Okay. Now, because I didn't have because I'd shared my plans too enthusiastically with the wrong people, and because I hadn't thought outside the box originally, and various other things, I was under a lot of stress when I started my business 10 years ago. And so because I was stressed, I wasn't listening to my intuition as much as I should have done or could have done. And I don't want that for you, right? So imagine if you could train in an environment where you could not only be taught the skills, you'd be shown how to master them, truly master them. You'd be shown how, you'd experience, because it's something you have to experience, isn't it? How to bring your intuition into a session without bringing an agenda to the table, because it's very different, right? Transference and projection, we can't have it. So you have to, so therefore, as well, can you imagine being in a place where you can also get to deal and get help with your own stuff, right? Now, part of, when you train people in emotional freedom technique, part of the thing that we have to tell people is this is not a therapy course. This is not an option for, not an opportunity for you to get therapy on your stuff in the practice sessions. I always tell my practitioners, please, let's do a small T or, something relatively inconsequential to practice on, because the big T trauma and the bigger stuff, it needs one-to-one attention. It needs potentially EFT or other therapy applying to it. So imagine if you could train in an environment like my academy, where you also got a set of extra help, lessons, classes, coaching to help you do just that, totally dedicated to you, not one-to-one, but with the option to have one-to-one if you wanted, but totally dedicated to you, your mental health, right? Your energetics, your beliefs, your patterning, your reparenting, your style of attachment, all of that good stuff, so that when you come out of the gate, and you're certified, you're accredited, you're ready to roll, you've had your business training, because that's included too. You've worked on your wealth and worthiness, because that's what I take you through as well. You've worked with a transactional analysis therapist who is an absolute godsend. You've had sound healing. You've had divinatory guidance. You're on the right path. You're clear and regulated as to where you want to go. You've got an advantage. You'll probably compress timeframes by a year or two, if not more. You'll go out there, you'll magnetize the people who need you, and you'll get your ROI on your investment pretty quick. I don't make guarantees on that, because it's not for me to say that. It depends on how much you put in, and it depends on your messaging. Is it dialed in? Are you clear who you want to work with? However, I would imagine you'd get your ROI pretty quickly. So those are the three main business mistakes that I feel I've made. That's my transparent share with you today. Hope you're still awake. I would love to know how you feel. I'd love to know any mistakes that you feel you've made, and how comfortable are you divulging that and being totally transparent about it. I've got nothing to hide. All the mistakes I've made, I hope at least I've put them right, and then some. I've gone above and beyond to make sure that the quality of training that you get with me is second to none. Okay. If you want to talk about joining the Evolved Energetics Academy, we start with a kickoff call on Wednesday, the 27th of September at 12 noon. And we've got plenty of time to chat before then. There's 18 and 24-month payment options as well if you're going to join us for life. So don't let cost be an option either. Don't let time be a barrier, because it follows the school year and the classes are spread out beautifully, and not all of it is mandatory. So, let's have a chat anyway if you think it's for you. And if not, then I hope this was at least useful for you today. All right. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.